The Ducati Panigale V4R may just be the greatest 1000cc motorcycle of all time. Don't at me. Since this is the greatest 1000cc motorcycle of all time, there's no way you guys have missed that this is a giveaway motorcycle. Today is the last day you have to get entered to win this Panigale V4R plus $10,000 cash over on yammynoob.co. We are giving 10x entries until midnight tonight, so make sure you get your chances locked and loaded to win this bike. This is easily the craziest giveaway I've ever done. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to own one of the greatest Ducatis ever produced, so you're not going to want to miss this promotion. So I said it's arguably the greatest 1000cc bike of all time, and I have a lot of experience riding a whole bunch of other leader bikes. Let me run you through all the other leader bikes I've ridden that are even close to this thing, and why the V4R is just simply a cut above the rest. So I'll start this off by comparing the V4R to one of my other favorite leader bikes, the Yamaha R1. Now, everyone loves the R1, the cross-plane sound, the biblical amount of power, the Valentino Rossi connection. It's a really, really cool machine. I had the chance to own and ride one back in 2020. We did one as a giveaway motorcycle, and I took it on track, I took it on road, we put an exhaust on it, all kinds of great stuff. But that motorcycle, you know, when you take it on track, it's a beast of a bike. It's big, it's heavy, it's burly, and it makes a broad spread of power. The V4R is really different in that it's got this short stroke engine, allowing you to really exercise wide open throttle a little bit more often than you'd realize on something like the R1. You know, you can actually use the V4R because the chassis is a little bit more forgiving. It's actually really easy to ride, and that's something that Ducati products have done really, really well in the last couple of years, is they make their bikes easier to ride, and they've seen more success in MotoGP by making their products easier to ride as well. So the R1, despite having this amazing soundtrack and having all this pedigree and success in national and world level competition, it's ultimately not quite as refined as the V4R in my opinion. Let's talk next about one of Japan's most celebrated motorcycles, the Honda CBR 1000 RR SP Fireblade, the mouthful of a Honda that I bought back in 2021 as a giveaway bike. I yeeted like 29 G's to get this bike. Had the HRC livery, it was super cool, all the electronics, the cool screen, all the crazy features. And that bike is really cool. We actually flashed it as well, and it was nasty fast. That thing was pretty much as fast as the V4R in a straight line, although I think the Ducati has it beat just by a little bit. Now, the reason I think the Fireblade isn't quite as successful as the V4R is because on track, you had to really ride the absolute neck off of that thing. You had to ride it like an R6 for it to really start to work and to really be a motorcycle that you can squeeze performance out of. Whereas the V4R is a bike that you ultimately can ride in a more relaxed way on track and still get really good lap times out of. The Fireblade, you had to do a lot of work. It's like an R6, but just like super roided out. And some people might like that feeling, but to be honest, I think when you look at the success that the V4R has had in World Superbike versus the Fireblade, you kind of start to make the case for itself that the V4R is ultimately a better motorcycle. And that translates down to the consumer level as well too. I am not a professional racer, I'm not even that great of an amateur racer, but even for me, I was able to jump on this thing and produce some pretty good lap times versus the Fireblade. You can't talk about a Ducati V4R without talking about the Aprilia RSV4 factory. Now, this is the one that all the Italian simps love to get up in arms about. It's the 1100cc, big dog, nasty V4 superbike. But I'm going to be totally honest, I think the RSV4 is a bit of a pig. It's really fat, it's really heavy. I never really got along with it very well on track. I got the opportunity to ride an RSV4 factory on slicks, fully kitted out at ECR, the 1100. It was easily one of the fastest motorcycles I've ever ridden in my life, but ultimately, side to side, there's something about the RSV4 that just feels really tough to ride. You got to really manhandle this thing. You got to really get it over on the side of the tire, really get it to do what you want it to do. It's not as elegant and as easy to ride as the V4R. And also, the 1100cc V4 is literally terrifying to ride. I don't know what it is about the short stroke V4 in the 998cc version of this Ducati, but it's just a little bit more friendly throughout the rev range. The RSV4 felt like it just wanted to rip my head off at literally any RPM. I was genuinely scared to ride that motorcycle and did not feel very comfortable with it at all. I think the RSV4 makes a pretty good street bike. It's wickedly fast, it's very comfortable, but ultimately I do think the V4R is more successful as well too. And last, let's talk about my most maligned leader bike that you guys hate my opinion for. It's the BMW S1000RR. Now, I will admit I have not gotten the chance to take out the brand spanking new M1000RR 2023 edition versus the V4R, but I've ridden a lot of S1000RRs. I've ridden them on street, I've ridden them on tracks, I've ridden them in Jerez, I've ridden them in California. I've ridden so many S1000RRs, and ultimately I do end up walking away feeling a little cold and numb from them. I've never gotten along that well with the platform. I think they make a ton of horsepower. They clearly are built to a very high standard. BMW doesn't build crap motorcycles, but I don't get the emozione that I would get from the Ducati V4R. I immediately felt comfortable on the V4R. And the Ducati has this thing that I've heard from other people as well that have owned this bike and used it, where they do a couple laps and they already immediately feel comfortable with the bike. And the rider feeling and the feeling of being comfortable on a motorcycle really is everything. You know, it's not going to be helpful if you're able to do decent lap times and feel like you're having to work really hard and having to think really hard versus a motorcycle that the lap times just come naturally and easily, which is something I want to talk about next in this video. At the risk of sounding like the biggest Ducati simp ever, this bike is f***ing fantastic. There is no other way to describe it. I have never ridden a leader bike that I got on track and just felt instantly at home with, instantly comfortable with, and just so damn good on. This thing gives you that superstar feeling. I felt like I was Pecco Bagnaia ripping up some practice laps at Mugello. It really does make you feel that way. This thing has an incredible charm about it to make you feel like you're a much better rider than you actually are. The engine is just, it's so good. It is so special. It rips to 16,000 RPM. It makes the most wicked sounds. Everybody here in the shop is just absolutely enamored with this thing. Brandon actually, every time he starts it up, just can't help but cream his jeans. It's just the best thing ever. The electronics suite works beautifully. The chassis handles amazingly. I rated this motorcycle like a 9.98 out of 10 because nothing in life is perfect, but I really do think this bike pretty much is the perfect track day motorcycle. And that was actually proven out by my lap times. I hate to admit this because I'd like to think that I'm so much better on my race bike and I've spent so many more laps on it. But the very first day I took this thing out, I did my fastest ever lap at Eagles Canyon Raceway at a 2-minute and 3-second. And that is just incredible. That's a pretty respectable lap time, honestly. That's what, like 8 seconds off lap record pace? That's really not that bad for an amateur club racer guy who really has no business riding a $40,000 motorcycle. But that's what this thing can do. It can turn you into that kind of person, which is incredible. So the elephant in the room is that this is a $40,000 motorcycle. $45,000 if you want to go buy it brand spanking new at a Ducati dealership. And the question is it really worth that much money? And begrudgingly, I do have to say, yes. It is so good, guys. And when you consider what this motorcycle offers, you know, it offers the exemplary track day experience, lowered lap times, improved confidence, such a great feeling. I do think it's ultimately worth it. And when you consider if you're going to spend $40,000 to $50,000 on a track-only toy, what do you have? You have stuff like the KTM RC8C, which in theory would be a better training tool because it's got less power, better data capabilities, and overall lighter weight and all that stuff. You will probably improve more as a rider. So the Ducati V4R is probably not the best get-good bike. To be honest, a Ninja 400 is probably going to be your best bet. But if you have the means, I highly recommend you pick one of these bad boys up. But you're also going to say, Yam, are you going to get a V4R? And I have been heeing and hawing back and forth about this question here at the shop, and those here at the shop can actually attest to this because it seems one day I'll show in and say, I'm going to get a V4R next week, and then the next day I'll say, I don't need a V4R. That's crazy. But man, life is short, and I tell you what, guys, if this whole giveaway thing works out well, maybe I'll pick up another one to give away, and maybe I'll get another one just to slot into my own personal stable, because I have had so much fun with this machine. I enjoyed it so much on track, and it really is my kind of motorcycle. So that's why the Ducati V4R is, to this point, and until something can dethrone it, my absolute favorite 1000cc sport bike of all time. Remember, this is a giveaway bike. Head over to yamanoob.co. You have until midnight tonight to get 10x entries to win this thing. Get your chances locked and loaded. This very machine could show up on your driveway or in your garage and make your dreams come true. We'll catch you in the next one. See you later. I got a bone to pick with you. You're out there doing all them dang wheelers on your H2s and your Groms and your Hayabusas and all that. That ain't gonna get you nowhere. You gotta take action. You gotta get yourself fixed up. You gotta find Rossi. You gotta find God. Click this video right here over on Yamanoob. You keep watching yourself these videos. You're gonna get fixed. You're gonna get saved. You're gonna get fixed today.